What's up, guys? Welcome back to another tutorial video in C. Today we're going to be talking about something that makes print statements a lot more interesting and really applicable, and they're called conversion characters. So these are things you put in your print statement that convert things to other things, and that'll make sense in a second. But essentially, wait here, we're going to get rid of this. We're going to start this over. Actually, you know what? Yeah, we're going to start this over. So the first thing we're going to have here is we're going to make a print statement. Printf, quotes, semicolon, quotes, parentheses. Sorry, I keep saying parentheses as quotes. So let's say we want to print out someone is awesome. So the first thing we're going to do is, instead of just saying something simple like y5 is awesome, we're going to replace y5 with something called a conversion character. So we're going to replace y5 with %s. Now what %s is, it means %string. That's what the s stands for. It means string. So string is basically a line of characters that are words, and it's basically anything in quotes. So every single time I say string, I'm talking about anything in quotes that's actually going to print out on screen. So like I said, %s is a conversion character. So if you wanted to convert to something else, what you do is within the print statement, within the parentheses, you're going to have, right after the quotes, you're going to put a comma, space, and then you're going to put down in another set of quotes whatever you want the conversion character to be. So say I want it to be y5 again. So we're going to put y5 within those quotes. So what it's about to do is it's about to take these over here and replace it within the conversion character. So if we print this out, it says y5 is awesome. Instead of just y5 is awesome, we're replacing this with this. So the next conversion character I want to talk about is going to be something called %d. So %s deals with anything that's a string or a character. So %d deals with anything, so %d stands for %digit, that's what the d stands for. That's just an easy way to remember what this does. So %d deals with integers, whole numbers. Anything with a decimal will not work for this. So if you want to say, well, this won't make any sense if we do that. So we're just going to say I8 %d fries. Okay, so if you want to do and you fill in for %d, you're going to want to do the same thing as you did for %s, which is put a comma, space, and then you want to put the thing that you want to fill in the conversion character with. So say I had 20 fries last night, you're going to put the number 20. Now remember, this has to be a whole number. If it's a decimal, the computer will spit out some weird number, and it's just not going to work out. So I ate 20 fries last night. So as you can see here, it fills in the %d with the placeholder for it. So conversion character, placeholder. Now the last one I want to talk about is %f, which is going to be any numbers. It can be a whole number, but it can also be a decimal. So the reason that you would use %d over %f is because it saves a lot less space. So when you get into making really, really big programs, it's going to allocate way less space for %d. %f defaults to 6 decimal places, so when you have 1,000,000 of these in a really big program, it's going to take up essentially 6 times more space. So what you want to do is, if you print I8 %f fries, so it's going to print out 20, but then it's going to print 0.000000 instead of just 20. Oop, my bad. Let's print out. I think you might actually have to have a decimal here. Yeah, okay, so my bad, you actually have to have a decimal there. I've never actually tried that because it makes no sense to use %f with a whole number. So you have to have a decimal place there, or else it will just print it as 0.00 as you just saw. So as you can see here now in the CMD, where it prints everything out over here, it prints out to 6 decimal places, which is a lot if you don't actually have 6 decimal places. So a good example of this is going to be pi is equal to, and we're going to put %f. Now pi is obviously equal to 3.14 159.265. Okay, so what this is going to do is it's going to print out 141.592 because it only goes out to 6 decimal places. Okay, so as you can see here, 3.14159.3 because I rounded up from the 6 over here. Okay, so if you want to print out more or less decimal places with %f, you go right in between the percent sign and the f, and you type out point however many decimal places you want. So if you want this to only print out to 2 decimal places, you do %.2f, and it'll print out 3.14, which is what everybody knows pi as. So if we just do a couple examples of these. Okay, so say we wanted to just do the default 6 decimal places, %.2 and then 0.5. So what this is going to do is this is going to print out, see, we need a new line. So if you remember, /n/n. Okay, so what we have now is we have the 6 decimal places, we have 2 decimal places because we did 0.2, and then 5 decimal places because we did 0.5. Now, I actually forgot about one of these. It's called large float, which is what %f stands for, float, by the way. So large float, which is a rare kind of one unless you're doing really, really big programs, is going to be, it's called a double, which is going to be it's a really, really big float, essentially. It's a big decimal number. So what you're going to have here, instead of here, we can get rid of these. So what you're going to have instead is you're going to have %lf, which means large float. So it's going to print the same thing, but just so you know, in computer terms, it's pretty much allocating way more space to this number. So it's turning a bunch of transistors to the numbers that you want a lot more than just if you were to have a float or even just a %d, which is % digit. So that's what that's doing. You can also use this for decimal numbers. Once again, it's only for decimal numbers. It's not for whole numbers. But that's the 4 conversion characters, yeah. So %s string, %d digit, %f float, and %lf large float. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next video.